Hi, welcome back to TUTV. I'm Caiden Catcher, and today I'm joined with Monroe Nichols, who is a member of the Oklahoma House of Representatives and is currently running for mayor of Tulsa. Monroe, thanks for coming.
Thank you for inviting me on. Really excited.
So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved in politics.
You know, my story in politics actually starts here at TU. So I was here as a student athlete from 2002 to 2006, and it was really that experience here at TU that got me involved in local politics. My first job out of college was in the mayor's office, and then kind of the rest is history. But yeah, it did start here. I was a political science major here at TU, and it was just such a great opportunity to really experience Tulsa through the eyes of a college student that was new to Tulsa, and really think about the potential of this community. And so really it was here. It all started right here.
So what made you stay in Tulsa?
You know, so I got that first job in the mayor's office, and it was really the nature of the work. I fell in love with this idea that you can make a difference. And what's unique about Tulsa in a lot of ways is that we are a top 50 city in population, but the gap between, you know, kind of just being here and being a citizen, being able to make a huge difference is a pretty small gap, right? So if you want to be involved and you want to change things, Tulsa is a great city to be able to do that. And so as I thought about where I wanted to spend my life, where I wanted to raise my now 16-year-old son, there was no place that compared to Tulsa. And so like this is just the best place in the country in my opinion. I think the history that we have from, you know, being the oil capital of the world, so we provided power for the entire globe, to the great legacy of the Greenwood District and Black Wall Street, to Tulsa being the largest city in the country that's all Indian reservation. I mean, like, Tulsa is the most unique place in the entire country, in my opinion. Not a better place to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how can young people and college students like you did get into politics?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, you know, if you have something that you're passionate, I always tell people running for office is oftentimes people think it's about how much money you got and how well connected you are. And those things can be important, but what's most important is, are you passionate about something that you want to see changed? And if you're passionate about something that you want to see changed, I think that is really the first step in going in and running for office. And I do think here at TU and college students, as you're always constantly thinking about the things that you would like to see different about the world and about this community, Tulsa's a great place to get started. So I'd say, you know, get yourself involved with things on campus, right? So you understand the life of this college community, but then get yourself involved in organizations across the city. We know we got some big challenges in Tulsa right now. Homelessness is a big challenge. Public education is a big challenge. Economic development's a challenge. You know, public safety is a challenge. And so my advice would always be, if you got something that you're passionate about, it's all about going out there and talking to other people about that passion. You'll find there's a lot of people who are on fire about the very same things. I'd also say this is a consequential election season. I think whether you're thinking about this at the federal level, at the state level, certainly at the local level, I'm not sure there's been an election in my lifetime anyway where, you know, really the stakes were so high. The stakes were so high. And so I would just say, like, if you were here, November 5th is a big day to make sure you go and vote. For those students who maybe registered and they're from somewhere else, hopefully they've gotten their absentee ballots in. But if you're in Tulsa, make sure that you make a plan to vote on November 5th.
Yeah, absolutely. This is my first presidential election I'll be voting in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's just a little too young last time.
Yeah.
But so you mentioned you worked in the mayor's office when you first got out, and you are a member of the Oklahoma House of Representatives.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what you've done as a member of the House.
Yeah, being a member of the House has been a great deal. I actually represent TU, so we're in my legislative district right now. A couple things I've been really passionate about was affordable housing. So we expanded the affordable housing tax credit, I think way back in 2018, if I'm not mistaken, which was critically important. We know in Tulsa we have a huge issue around affordable housing and homelessness, and so, you know, that work was something that was really important to me. And another area that I really didn't get elected thinking that I was going to work on was in the area of domestic violence and really supporting and working with survivors of rape. And the results of that work is everything from Oklahoma having perhaps the most aggressive rape kit testing policy in the nation to just recently increasing the statute of limitations on sexual assault and rape, to allowing victims of domestic violence to break their leases early without penalty, really digging down into some of these issues that we know are critically important. The reason why those are all important is Oklahoma is number 1 in the country in domestic violence. We're number 3 in the country in the number of women who are murdered by a partner. And so like Tulsa's numbers are higher than the rest of the state. And so like really doing these things that are really about these issues that are hitting people in Tulsa and Oklahoma in a real way and making things a little bit better for them, I think has been the greatest part about being an elected official, because some things just transcend partisanship. And those are some of the things I'm really proud of what we've been able to accomplish in those areas.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So speaking of things that transcend partisanship, the homelessness crisis in Tulsa, it's been continuously getting worse over the past several years because of affordable housing issues and things like that. What do you want to see done in Tulsa?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to get ourselves to a place that we're a community where we don't accept the fact that people are sleeping on sidewalks and under bridges and encampments. And so, if you go to monroeformayor.com, we have a really aggressive plan to get us to what's called functional zero homelessness by 2030. And that's where homelessness is rare, so very few people are experiencing it. It's brief, so the people who are in it don't experience it for a long time. And it's non-recurring, meaning that we've built a system that once we get you out of that situation, you don't fall back into it. The ways in which we plan to do that is, one, to make sure we're investing in really outreach worker capacity. So these are the folks who go out to encampments and talk to folks who are unhoused and say, like, hey, what's your challenge? What brings you out here, right? There's 1,000 reasons why folks are homeless. Us understanding what those reasons are and get them connected to the resources that they need is a critical part of it. The other part is care coordination. So as we got folks like, Monroe is a mental health issue, underlying mental health issue. Monroe one day is at the day center, the next day is at John 3:16, the next day is at Salvation Army. How are we all making sure we're serving Monroe well, even though we're different institutions? And so that care coordination is a critical part of it. And then making sure we get our affordable housing numbers up. The goal is to start with getting places for people to be, and then start an encampment decommissioning program. So we get people off the streets, but we get them into a place where they can be safe, where they can be comfortable, where we can serve them better. And then in 6 years, our plan is to end homelessness in this community.
Wow. Well, another thing you've mentioned that was on your website is supporting schooling.
Yeah.
I'm an education major, so that's something that's very important to me. How do you expect to support schools like TPS? Yeah,
I think a big part of it is we've started from the beginning talking about improving student outcomes. I think it's probably what you saw on the website. And the first thing is, how are we all coming together and make sure we're supporting kids well? Because it's not just City Hall, it's all these big public institutions. And so the Office of Children, Youth, and Families, you'll see that on the website. So that's the idea that all of us who have a share in addressing issues facing young people are coming together around the same table very regularly in a very structured way. So we understand we all are spending individually, and so what we're all spending collectively, and how well is that getting better outcomes for young people, whether we're talking after school programs, or we're talking things going on during the school day, or we're talking things that may be happening in the Parks Department, or the opportunity to get dual credit. To what degree are we doing that, and how are we doing that across the city? And addressing some of those other underlying issues and foster care and all these things, right? Like, we know that kids come with a diverse set of needs and challenges. I think Tulsa Public Schools alone, there's 70 different languages spoken. There are 900 kids actually who are homeless. There are 1,200 families facing eviction. So fixing some of those foundational things are critically important. I think the other part about it is you shared that you were thinking about being a teacher. One of the things that you have to think about when being a teacher is, can I make a living being a teacher, right? Like, I'm sure that's part of the calculus, as it should be. I mean, you're investing in your education, you have a passion for teaching, but you don't want to be in poverty because you've chosen to do that. I think that's the decision a lot of folks are faced with. And so part of that education plan, there is a Teach in Tulsa fund that we're going to grow. And so the idea is that for those teachers that are in the classrooms where we have students that have like significant economic disadvantage, that we incentivize them to stay in the classroom to the extent they're getting good growth out of students. I think that an excellent education oftentimes does start with the teacher, but it starts with a teacher who we respect them in their profession. We're investing in them to make sure that they understand that we respect their profession, and we're stabilizing schools so we don't have high turnover rates. We get somebody excellent, let's keep them in the classroom. We don't want to force you to have to be an assistant principal unless that's what you want to do, or have two different jobs to be a teacher. We want you to focus on the job that you have a passion for, a job that you're really effective at. And what we know about when you do those kinds of things, third grade reading rates go up. High school graduation rates go up. It's a proven program that all starts with how we invest in teachers that are getting better outcomes.
Well, thank you. And one last thing, you mentioned that Tulsa is home to a lot of tribal lands.
Yeah.
I'm a member of the Cherokee Nation.
Yeah.
What do you plan on doing to co-govern with the tribe?
Yeah. So I mean, we have some significant issues around public safety that we have to work through, but they're issues that we can 100% navigate. And so last year, actually announced that we would bring on a director of tribal policy and partnerships to not only help us navigate some of the challenges that might, that we face, but also to secure some of those amazing opportunities. There's no reason that in a state where we have almost 40 federally recognized tribes, in a city where we have 3 reservations that meet right here within our city limits, that Tulsa actually shouldn't be the gateway to Indian country. So how are we making sure that citizens of the Cherokee Nation and of every tribal nation can really experience their cultural heritage here, that people can come here to, if you're a young Native entrepreneur, like Tulsa should be the place where you are getting that business started. This should be a place where we have corporate headquarters for the Cherokee Nation, for the Creek Nation, for the Osage Nation. This should be kind of the cradle of culture for natives, and I think we can do that. And so the goal is not just to navigate some of the public safety waters, but to really come together on joint economic development, on joint ways in which we can really lean into the cultural experiences to make sure that when people show up in Tulsa at the airport, for example, you go into the airport, you hear the voice of the mayor oftentimes, or Michael Wallace, I think, a while back, but where are the signs of the 3 chiefs whose reservation you're about to enter, right? So I think there's all these ways that we need to better incorporate Native culture because we are on the reservation. I think that's a special responsibility that we have in working with tribes to make sure we're not just doing things and talking about challenges, but we're really talking about how do we really inspire the next generation of Native young people and really support Native folks in this community so they want to be in Tulsa, they know Tulsa's home, and it's reflected in everything they see around the city.
Well, thank you, Monroe, for joining us. Is there anything else you'd like to leave us off with?
I would just really encourage everybody who is of age to vote to vote. It's really critical, and I think this is not just on the 5th, because the 5th is coming up, but you all right here on this campus could dictate how city council races are, how they go in District 4, how school board races are decided. Young people, particularly on this campus, could be a huge voting bloc, and in doing so, do some amazing things for people who live around you. I think it's part of being a really good neighbor. I've always been really proud to represent TU as a student athlete, as an alum, and as a state representative now. And I hope that the students who come through the halls here at TU and walk the campus feel that awesome responsibility to get involved in this community. We are privileged to be able to go to this university and be a part of what TU is. Giving back, a small way to give back, is to be a really active voter to make sure we're investing in the life of Tulsa for generations to come. So that would be my challenge to TU students. It really is a challenge to everybody, but a challenge to TU students to make sure that we're always leaning in to making Tulsa a better place and making sure when you're 18 years old, which most people should be, you're registered to vote and you're actively participating in the life of Tulsa.
Well, Monroe, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Absolutely.